Okay, so just before we wrap up our discussion of Ibsen's A Doll's House, I do want to get us to watch this short version of the film, but done for a sort of modern audience and a modern interpretation of some of the themes or ideas in the film or in the play. So this is Carrie Cracknell's Nora, and it's just 10 minutes long. It's a really short film, but it sort of borrows some themes or ideas from Ibsen's original play and then transforms it into a kind of modern take on that same issue of gender inequality, but for like a modern audience. So while we watch the film, I want you to consider any similarities and differences that you see between the original play and then this modern version of it. So are the characters of Nora similar in both texts? What makes them different? What makes them the same? And let me know your thoughts on that. There will be a little corresponding worksheet that you can complete and hand in for participation related to the short film Nora. And then also the question is sort of what are the gender inequalities that the filmmaker Carrie Cracknell is trying to bring out or expose in the film. So her viewpoint is that sort of that women are still facing inequalities today in a modern setting. We haven't solved all of these issues from Ibsen's time. They're still relevant. The play is still relevant, but in different ways. So it resonates with modern audiences, but for different reasons. So obviously women's lives have changed significantly since, the 1890s, but some things haven't changed, and we get to see that in this short film. So just try to think of these two or answer these two questions and look at the worksheet after we watching the film. I'll get you, if we were in class, I'd give you some time to work on the worksheet, but you can definitely do it in your own time and submit it for participation marks. So how is the original play, different or similar from this short version of the film? And then, or the short modern version called Nora. And then what are the gender inequalities identified in this little short film? And are women still facing gender inequalities today in modern society? So try to come up with those or responses to those questions while we're watching the film.
No, it's my husband's card. But we have to wait for that.
He just called me this morning and said it's a card. No, I know it's a different card. No, I know that. Darling, can you have that box? No, I'm still here. No, we have a gift account, but that's not the card. Thank you. No, I don't mind if I hold. No, that's fine. I'll hold. Oh, wait. No, leave them. Now, hold on, just wait for me before we turn the corner. Okay. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye for my Come on, go. Bye. turn here right, just be 5 minutes late.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic.
Really? Where was the problem?
Caroline,
My bad. Completely forgot to pass that. Well, we've already kicked off.
Great.
And Neil and I bumped into each other at Wentworth over the weekend. So I've already been given a heads up.
Great.
But why don't you start, Nora, and then Neil and I we can jump in as and when.
Great.
Where were we?
I think we've got to call it a day there. My daughter's a concert too. How wonderful. If only. Oh dear. That bad, eh? Extracurricular activities usually come under the jurisdiction of Miriam, but she's otherwise engaged, so being a rare appearance.
I honestly wonder how you managed to fit it all in sometimes, Robin.
Rebecca, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Against the garden. Yes, tea. Yes, I'm coming, darling. I'm coming. That's wonderful. And let's make a quick phone call, all right? Yeah. That's lovely, darling.
Hello? It's me. Nora? Nora?
Okay, so as shown in that short film, we do get a kind of similar dynamic in a way of the character of Nora. That's kind of the connection, is this character. Both characters are named Nora. Both are in marriages, both have children, and then both find themselves leaving their families at the end of the play. But that's kind of where the differences are. In the play, we know there's sort of a Nora decides to become independent, and she no longer wants to live in this sort of false facade of a marriage anymore with Torvald, who's been very oppressive and controlling all of their marriage, and she hasn't been allowed to develop as a person. So that's sort of her trying to become independent. But in this one, we do get more maybe a darker sense of just feeling so overwhelmed and burnt out with everything that she has to do in life that she needs this break. She needs to leave her situation, that her mental health is at, on its last thread, just barely holding it together. Some of the problems are social problems. Gender inequalities is still present. So there's a couple of different scenes there that tell us about what's causing pressure and tension in this woman's life, in Nora's life in this short film. But one of them we see, I guess the first one would be sort of the double duty, work-life balance and childcare. In the morning, we see her on the phone and she's trying to figure out the situation with her husband's credit card. And she's on the phone while also trying to feed breakfast to her children and also getting dressed for the day herself. Everything is, she has to take on all of these different responsibilities and has different roles to play for each person. She has to be a wife, a mother, and an independent person, and also have her job, her work role. So you're trying to, fulfill all these different obligations and pressures all at once. And it's creating a burnout situation for her, as we'll see. Her husband is out of town, so all of the childcare falls onto her shoulders. And then she also will seek, a nanny or babysitter for a part of the day while she goes to her job. So that's one of the main differences between the original and this modern version, is it's a working woman that is the modern version of Nora, right? So women nowadays, we work outside the home. You're not just in that domestic role as a housewife or a mother. You also are expected to work outside the home for most of us. And but instead of creating more empowerment, it does give you maybe some financial independence, but it does also add a lot more pressure and expectations professionally now onto your life. So you not only have to do your traditional roles as a housewife, but you're also having to do expected roles as a professional working person now. So instead of making our lives easier in some ways, it's become this double duty that women have to now do both instead of just one role. And that leaves this Nora with very, difficult work-life balance. She's overworked and having a hard time managing all of her different responsibilities with being a mother and being a wife and being a working woman. And her husband's basically absent. He's on a road trip, so we don't really get to see what the dynamic is when he is at home, if there is equal child care, division of labor. But it's implied that she's still doing the majority of the work for childcare, including like feeding the kids in the morning and taking care of them and dropping them off at the babysitters and all of that stuff. In regards to the workplace, that's a whole other set of social problems for women and for this character of Nora. The environment that she works in, there is a certain expectation, and she feels maybe a little bit of or pressure to fulfill beauty standards. So we see her in the bathroom trying to get fixed up, and there's a younger woman sort of just looking at her, maybe judging her a little bit, and Nora trying to, get more dressed up for this meeting, putting on red high heels and putting on lipstick, because as a woman there are expectations of beauty that she feels like, she has to live up to. She's also getting older, so she's now, on that second stage of life where you become a mother. And in the corporate world, you're not really allowed to age out in some ways. You have to sort of maintain this image, especially in certain fields. So maybe she feels more pressure for beauty in that office environment, where she's maybe there are younger women coming up in that professional environment, and she feels like a pressure to live up or to keep up with those younger women who are single and don't have those same obligations in their lives yet. And then there's this old boys club sentimentality that when she arrives in the boardroom, all of the men are there already, and I think it's just 4 men and her. She's the only woman in that room, and then she has to present to them. And it seems as if they have a camaraderie and they're joking and it's like a little bit of a fraternity vibe. They have a close connection with one another. They go golfing on the weekend, they said. So the older man is obviously the boss, and then there's some younger men who are also part of this kind of boys club, and they all kind of have this friendly camaraderie between them that maybe Nora is sort of isolated from, because she doesn't have that free time to participate and go golfing with them on the weekend because she has a family and other obligations. So she kind of gets isolated out or alienated out of that boys club. And then they kind of talk about, their free time that they're able to spend golfing. That's when they're also doing a little bit of work talk as well. So if you're a young man, you can also, talk to the boss on the weekends when you go golfing at the same golf, club, and get some business done there. And it helps your career elevate as well when you have those moments of free time to spend, devoted to your working life as well. And Nora's kind of looked down upon, and she's sort of 5 minutes late to the meeting, and they don't give her a lot of flexibility. They start the meeting without her, and they sort of judge her, it seems, for coming in a little bit late, and don't really accept her excuses, even though she's communicated ahead of time that she was going to be 5 minutes late, and the man didn't tell her message to the boss. So it's sort of making her look bad, even though she has notified them in advance that she needed more flexibility in the starting time. And then you'll notice the boss there, he's sort of in bad mood because he has to go to what he calls an extracurricular activity that his wife usually does, and it's to go see his child's recital or something. And he's saying Miriam usually does all those extracurricular activities, and Nora kind of is holding back her eye rolls because, the expectation is that women do all of that work, or women do that unpaid labor of childcare or taking the children to soccer practice or to recital or to whatever it is that they're doing, and men get this extra time, the leisure time that women don't have the privilege of having. So she's sort of excluded from that club as well. This old boys club is in the working world that's also adding pressure to her life. And it's interesting if you do, I know Carrie Cracknell was influenced by this feminist writer, Kat Banyard. And in Banyard's book, she kind of identifies some areas of inequality in relation to women in the workforce. And she identifies a couple of areas where women still haven't reached sort of gender equality. And she says there's three things lacking in the workplace that are preventing women from attaining, true equality. The lack of flexible working, especially for, mothers. Unequal division of caring. So the fact that childcare is not divided equally between men and women. And women are overburdened with that still, even though they are working outside the home, they still have the extra burden of childcare in most situations, or in a lot of cases. Gender stereotyping. So a lot of women still feel like there's a glass ceiling, like they can't break through into leadership roles, politically, or they can't become CEOs or something like that in the business world, just because women are still sort of perceived as, as weak or emotional. So there's still these stereotypes that society applies to women, and it doesn't allow them to sort of break out of those roles. And then just discrimination as well. There is sort of, some people just are kind of misogynist and believe that women don't belong in certain areas or certain roles or positions. So that discrimination is still present today. So those are just some issues brought up by that short film. And in both Ibsen's play and in this short film by Carrie Cracknell, the ending is the same. So Nora leaves